I stumbled on a secret XRP chart signal that the last time preceded a 630% price explosion. And guess what? It's happening again. Now, my heart literally skipped a beat when I saw this, and if you hold XRP, you're going to want to hear why. So, the other night, I'm doom scrolling through crypto Twitter, as one does past midnight, and I see this post by an analyst that I follow, Ali Martinez. Now, he's sharing a chart with something called an MVRV. This is Golden Cross that is on it, saying it's only the third time it's happened in recent memory. Now, I'm sitting there, bleary-eyed, thinking Golden Cross on the MVRV? This deja vu? Right? Because I kind of vividly remember seeing that phrase before the last big XRP run. So at this point, I'm kind of rubbing my eyes, texting my buddy, hopping into our Discord server. By the way, we have a free educational Discord. The link is in the description. You can come in and say hi if you want. Now, and I'm basically like, guys, am I crazy, or is this the same signal that showed up right before XRP went on a wild run last time? And the replies started flooding in. Like, yep, it's the very same one. Did you see the chart? Is history about to repeat? Now, of course, I'm fully awake. Adrenaline is pumping, because if this signal is what I think it is, then we might be on the verge of something huge, or I might actually just be losing my mind. Possibly even both. So let's just unpack this in plain old English, storytime style. All right, so first, what the heck is MVRV Golden Cross? Well, don't worry. I'm about to thaw math equations, and we're going to get through this, right? So let's keep it super simple, right? MVRV, it stands for market value to realized value, right? It's a fancy term, but basically it compares the current price, market value, at least to the average price that people actually paid for their XRP. That's realized value. So think of it like checking if XRP is overpriced or on sale compared to its typical buying cost. Now, a golden cross in this context means that the short-term MVRV line just climbed above the long-term MVRV line. In plain speak, recent market momentum overtook the longer-term average. So it's kind of like the market's heartbeat just went from a steady kind of thump-thump to an excited let's go rhythm. Okay, often that hints at people maybe who bought recently are in profit and momentum is actually building. Now, in stock or crypto chart lingo, a golden cross is usually bullish. On this MVRV thing, it's actually apparently been a pretty big deal for XRP historically. So I didn't just take, Twitter's word for it, of course. I pulled up some data. The last two times that this MVRV Golden Cross flashed, XRP went absolutely bonkers, right? Let's kind of rewind for a second and relive those moments. Let's do a flashback to 2024, November of 2024. Picture me in late 2024, casually just stacking some XRP. Not expecting terribly too much. Then comes early November. Boom. News hits that Donald Trump won the US election. The whole market got a jolt of energy. Now, around that same time, this exact on-chain signal, the MVRV Golden Cross, appears for XRP. And oh boy, did XRP deliver? Now, I'm talking a price eruption from under 50 cents to over $2 and then over $3. All in what felt like one fell swoop. Now, according to Ali's charts, after that Golden Cross showed up in November of 2024, XRP rallied 630% in the following weeks. 630%. So let that sink in. Now, if you had $1,000 in XRP, it became $7,300. And trust me, people's jaws were on the floor, right? I remember waking up one morning, checking my phone and seeing XRP had smashed past the $2 mark overnight. I actually thought it was a glitch, like there's no way this must be some kind of error or a prank. But no, it was real. XRP was going parabolic. It even cracked $3 shortly after. Now, in hindsight, that run felt rather surreal. And of course, I was both ecstatic and a tiny bit bitter. Ecstatic because, hey, gains. Bitter because, I hadn't bought more when it was dirt cheap, before it actually took off. The story of every crypto trader's life, right? we're all geniuses in hindsight. Now, after that frenzy, things cooled off for a little bit. Fast forward to mid-2025, XRP has had kind of been kind of chilling out, consolidating for a few months, February through June 2025. It was kind of like watching paint dry, right? Price just bouncing in a bit of a range. A lot of people got bored and impatient, right? Now, I'll admit, even I was catching myself yawning at the chart by June, but then early July came around and I noticed the vibes shifting. XRP's price started creeping up again, and lo and behold, our magical indicator, the MVRV Golden Cross, flashes again. This was Golden Cross number 2. Now, this time, the rally that followed wasn't as earth-shattering as 2024's, but it was still nothing to sneeze at. XRP went up about 54% after that signal, from the low $2 to a peak around $3.66 by July 18th, 2025. Now, that was actually a new high for the year, and nearly a challenge to the all-time high from way back in 2018, which was about $3.84. So everyone was like, this is it. We're finally going to break the all-time high. We got very close, but we didn't quite burst through that $3.84 ceiling. Still, a 54% gain is pretty sweet. Now, I remember because I had a small trade going just then. I didn't catch the full move, but I sold a smidge around $3.50 feeling like an absolute champ. Now, of course, it keeps going to $3.66 and I was like, I should have held on or hodled on just a little bit longer. Classic, right? But hey, nobody ever catches the exact tops or the bottoms, right? The important part is that the Golden Cross preceded yet another solid rally, confirming that this little signal is worth paying attention to. Now, here we are in August of 2025, and guess what? For the third time since late 2024, the MVRV ratio has flashed a Golden Cross for XRP, number 3, right? Now, if just happened as XRP bounced off the $2.90 and pushed back above $3 this month. So as of me kind of speaking, XRP is hovering around $3.30-ish, right? The excitement in the community is palatable, like X, Reddit, Discord, everywhere people are sharing that chart. Now, I can almost hear the collective heartbeat of every XRP holders quickening here, right? Because if it happens twice or happened twice, could the third time be the charm? Or are we about to just fool ourselves with this time is different kind of fallacy? Now, I've learned that in crypto, anything can happen, right? Just when you think that you've seen it all, the universe says, hold my beer. But still, the data nerd, at least in me, can't help but crunch the numbers and imagine the possibilities. Now, before I even go there into kind of the dreamland price targets, let me hit pause here for just a moment or just a second, because it's time for a crucial reality check, and I need everyone to really listen to this part. It's super important. This one might just shock you, but I'm not a financial advisor, and nothing in this video is financial advice. Cryptocurrencies are highly volatile, and you could lose all of the money that you invest. You should always do your own research and consult a qualified professional. Your investments are entirely your responsibility, and you should know that nothing is ever guaranteed when it comes to investing. Neither I, this channel, nor YouTube are liable for any losses, and this video is for entertainment and educational purposes only. Alright, so that's the disclaimer done. Let's get back to the fun what-if scenarios, shall we? Right, we've seen 630% moves before. We've seen 54% before. Right, the $1 million question, or perhaps the $24 question is, what kind of move could we see this time if history repeats even a little bit? Now, I've basically got 3 different scenarios playing in my head, and I'm going to start with the craziest one because, well, let's be honest, those are the most fun to imagine, even if reality often has other plans. Now, scenario 1 is the moonshot, 630% gains once again. Now, this is the kind of history repeats exactly kind of case. Now, if XRP were to indeed rip past another kind of 630% from roughly $3.30 now, then we're going to be talking of a price around $24 per XRP. Yes, that was 2.4, not 2.4, right? $24, right? Now, I'll give you a second to just let that visual sink in, right? Now, if you're an OG who bought XRP back when it was under $1, I mean, I bought it at sub 10 cents. So yeah, $24 probably does sound like winning the absolute lottery. To me, it definitely does. I mean, I'd probably have to peel myself off of the ceiling if we hit that. Now, interestingly, earlier this year, one of XRP's biggest critics, this guy named 𝗗𝗶𝘀𝗰𝗋, who's a hardcore Bitcoin maxi, by the way, even predicted XRP could reach $20 to $24 this cycle. Kind of blew my mind because, he's used to kind of trash XRP as banker's coin and all of that kind of nonsense. So when a skeptic starts saying, it might actually hit $24, you know that something is actually up. Now, is $24 realistic? Well, skeptics will kind of rightly point out that $24, XRP's market cap would be over $1 trillion, like 1.2 or 1.3 trillion, depending on the circulating supply. Now, at that valuation, XRP would, of course, be rubbing shoulders with the likes of Google or Amazon in market cap, right? And, actually above Tesla's valuation. It's maybe bonkers if you look at it from that perspective, but market cap isn't money. It isn't liquidity. It's theoretical. You can never liquidate everything instantaneously. And so if price is actually what dictates the market cap is no barrier. So if you want to know more about that, join us in the free Discord. It's, I guess market cap is the biggest myth and the biggest hurdle for retail investors. Anyway, in late 2024, if someone had told me that XRP would be $3.30 in a year, I probably would have called them bonkers at the same time, right? And yet here we are. So I'm not truly ruling anything out. It's a wild west of crypto, right? And crazy things can happen on very thin liquidity. Now that said, a $24 XRP would probably need some massive catalyst behind it. Maybe XRP ETFs, maybe a full-blown alt season, and banks heavily adopting XRP, maybe a smidge, right? It doesn't actually take a lot of money to move the needle here. $10 billion instant buy could drive $100 XRP. We've been through that scenario not that long ago. So if you want to check that out on the channel, I do urge you guys to check out the previous videos. Anyway, aliens deciding to use XRP as an intergalactic scenario that could crop up too. Hell, why not? Tinfoil hats and all that. Anyway, something big. It's a huge kind of high hopium scenario to kind of reach these levels, no doubt, but it has a chance, and I do believe that. Now, even thinking about it kind of gives me the irrational kind of excitement butterflies, which, I do have to tame immediately because I promised myself I wouldn't go full moon boy once again. Scenario 2, the modest kind of pop, 50 to 60% gains, is basically a repeat of what happened in July. Now, if XRP does say a 54% uptick from $3.30 that is, you're looking at roughly $5 per coin. Now, you might be thinking, you might even shrug, like, $5, whatever. Oh, just hold on. $5 would be historic in its own right, though, right? Remember how I mentioned XRP's record high from January 2018 was about $3.84. Crossing $5 would crush that record. So it would be the highest price XRP had ever achieved in its 13-year history. That's nothing to sneeze at, right? A prominent crypto YouTuber, Dusty BC, recently said that anything under $5 is XR, or at least for XRP, is cheap, implying that he thinks XRP's true value should actually be significantly higher. Now, if he's right, $5 might actually be conservative target. And you know what? A move to $5 would kind of fit the broader trend that we've been seeing, right? Each rally is a little bit more measured than the last as the market cap grows and, things normalize post-lawsuit. Now, in fact, some analysts on crypto Twitter, if we want to call them that, have been throwing around $5 for the near-term targets if certain technical levels break. Now, and given that XRP almost hit $4 in the last run, $5 isn't actually that outlandish. I totally see a scenario where a few weeks or months, XRP grinds its way up there, right? Maybe even on the back of some good news. For me personally, $5 would be pretty huge. I might actually think about a mini party or so, a live stream in Discord maybe. You can potentially hold me to that. But, because a lot of us have been waiting literally 7 or 8 years to see new all-time highs, right, on XRP. So it's kind of like a psychological barrier. If we break it, then the euphoria and FOMO could, of course, trigger. And, oh boy, even the media would probably run headlines like XRP hits record high. Now, that could, of course, bring new eyeballs. And so, yeah, $5 is nothing to really scoff at. Scenario 3, then, the middle path. A few 100% gains. Reality often lands somewhere in the middle of these extreme euphoria and modest moves, right? So let's say XRP splits the difference and maybe, triple or quadruples in value, right? If we see a 300 to 350% move up from $3.30, would that put us in the mid-teens? Let's call it $10 to $15 range. And funny enough, that actually aligns with what other analysts are predicting as well. I saw one analyst saying that XRP could hit $13 or so during the cycle, which basically is smack back in the middle of our ballpark here. So a piece of noted that the golden cross aligns, with the idea of XRP reaching somewhere between $10 and $27 if the broader crypto cycle plays out favorably. So mid-teens isn't actually just pulled from the hat then, right? It's actually a scenario that a few people are eyeing up. And what that would feel like, right? And honestly, it kind of would be the best of both worlds, I guess, right? Dramatically higher prices, life-changing for some who have rather big bags, but not so high that it defies all of the other fundamentals, right? XRP at around $14 would be roughly 4x from here, which in crypto land, well, is awesome. It's not unprecedented, right, for a major altcoin in a bull run. So it might take a little while to get there, could be months, long journeys or so, with plenty of dips along the way, but a slow and steady climb somewhere is more sustainable than any crazy pump. So yeah, if it did that, it would probably be accompanied by some seriously good news, maybe XRP ETFs, and some wider adoption. One thing is for sure, though, if we get even close to those numbers, I'll have to pinch myself because XRP, langishly kind of under $1 for so many years that seeing double digits would feel like entering an alternate kind of universe. Now, at this point, you might be thinking, geez, you sound pretty bullish on all of these scenarios. Is there no chance that it's all a fake out? Oh, absolutely there is, right? Because we have to consider that too. Maybe this golden cross is just an absolute dud, right? It's possible that the market has already priced it in, right? At least some of the good news. Sometimes these indicators can flash and nothing huge happens if the macro environment is weak or if whales decide to dump. So maybe XRP goes up 10% and then retraces, who knows, right? I'm mentally prepared for absolutely anything here because crypto likes to humble us real fast. And so that is why I'm not throwing caution to the wind here. True story, right? After I saw that signal, a little devil on my shoulder was like, YOLO, right? Buy a ton more XRP now before it rockets. I even opened up my Kraken Pro app. That's the exchange that I usually use for the low fees. Heads up though, Kraken Pro in link that's in the description is an affiliate link, which means if you do use it to sign up and trade, it actually helps support the channel here. So if you do use it, thanks in advance. Love ya. Anyway, I was close to the market buying an irresponsible amount of XRP, but then the angel on my other shoulder, that looked at me and my risk-adverse friend from Discord was like, chill, dude, stick to your plan. Don't FOMO in all because of one indicator. And you know what? They were right. No matter how exciting things get, rule number one is don't invest more than you can afford to lose. So I stuck to my strategy. I did add a little tiny bit to my bag that I couldn't resist, but it was absolutely nothing crazy, right? And I set a stop loss on that trade because, hey, I managed the risk. I've learned the hard way in the past. Even the kind of midst of all of the hype, I've got to keep it real with you guys, right? These scenarios that I'm talking about are just possibilities. They are not certainties. And if the golden cross pattern holds, then we might see some big gains. But corrections or correlation, and I should say, is always kind of, I guess, double-edged, right? And there's 3 data points that are pretty small sample size in the grand scheme of things, right? There could be other factors at play that we're not even seeing. That said, it's undeniably encouraging to see bullish signals stacking up, right? The lawsuit cloud has lifted, on-chain metrics are looking good, there's increased chatter about mainstream adoption again, sentiment feels better than it has in a long while. It's kind of like all the ingredients for a potential big move are actually on the table. Whether the chef decides to actually cook up something delicious, we'll have to wait and see. As for, at least as they say, I should say, history doesn't repeat itself, but it often rhymes, right? We might not see the exact same outcome, but it could be something that at least echoes the past patterns. So here I am, equal parts excited and cautious. On one hand, I kind of feel like I've discovered a little treasure map with this golden cross signal. kind of marks the spot, and maybe a chest of XRP gains awaits at the end. On the other hand, I know that every treasure map in crypto can lead straight to a kind of pit if you're not careful, right? The biggest takeaway from this whole saga for me is the importance of staying informed, but also staying level-headed. I mean, I've basically lived through the last 2 chapters of this story, and now that chapter 3 is starting to write itself, I want to approach it with a Zen mindset, right? Hope for the best, prepare for the worst, and expect something in between. So if XRP moons, fantastic, right? We'll throw the biggest virtual party on Discord, right? If it just kind of is meh, or kind of just evens out or even dips, that's okay too, right? It's not the end of the world, and there will be other opportunities. Now, what I love about the XRP community and crypto in general is that we're all on this roller coaster together, right? We scream on the way up, we cringe on the way down, but we kind of stick around for the ride, right? And this particular ride, the mystery of the MVRV Golden Cross, has been one of the more intriguing kind of subplots, at least in the XRP saga, right? Whether you're a data geek thrilled by the chart signals, or just an XRP holder wondering if your bags finally get a little bit lighter or heavier in terms of value, it's an exciting time, right? Just remember to keep your seatbelt on, both financially and emotionally speaking. Now, I'll definitely keep you all posted on how this develops, right? And it's watching the charts a bit like a hawk in one eye and the news in the other. And yeah, I might have my Kraken Pro tab open on standby too, just in case we start seeing liftoff. But no matter what happens, I'm not going to let FOMO or fear dictate any of my moves. It's taken me years to learn the calm and rational, with a dash of adventurous spirit, that wins in the end. So if you want to follow this wild XRP journey with me, then not miss out on what happens next, make sure to hit that like button and that subscribe button and stick around. The ride is just getting started.